pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, we're discussing about the glories of Srila Haridasa Thakur. And Vrindavan Thakur actually has dedicated one entire chapter, and as well as Krishna Kaviraj Goswami also in Chaitanya Charitamrita has dedicated one entire chapter for describing exclusively the glories of Srila Haridasa Thakur. So Srila Haridasa Thakur, he was born in a Muslim family. Now, and Vrindavan Thakur actually puts forward a question that whenever Krishna appears, he appears in his own abode, like Vrindavan, or when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, he appeared in Mayapur Dham, Navdeep Dham. And generally, even when the Pandavas, they traveled during their exile, they never went to a place which was not on the bank of holy river of Ganga. So how is it that the associates of the Lord, like Haridasa Thakur and many others, they appeared in sinful places and in sinful families? So Haridasa Thakur was born actually in a Muslim family. Generally, Muslims are considered the Mlechas or unclean, Mlecha and Yavanas, because they eat the meat, therefore they are considered Yavanas. So how is it that an exalted associates of the Lord, they appear in the Mlecha and Yavana unholy families? It is just to deliver the families and the land that the associates of the Lord choose to appear in such unholy families. Like Prahlad Maharaj, he appeared in the family of Asuras. And that too, the topmost of Asuras is Hiranyakashipu. So Prahlad Maharaj appeared in his family. So this is simply to deliver the people in those sinful places or in those families to be delivered from the cycle of birth and death. Because any Vaishnava appears, as Prahlad Maharaj also assured by Nrsimha Dev, that such families, generations are liberated. So similarly, Haridasa Thakur also appeared apparently in an unholy family, simply to deliver. And because he would consistently, incessantly chant the holy name of Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entitled or gave him the name Namacharya. Acharya means one who teaches by his personal example. So Namacharya means one who teaches by his own example how to chant the holy name of Krishna. And therefore Srila Haridasa Thakur was given the title Namacharya. It's also explained in the Navdeep Dham Mahatmya that Haridasa Thakur is actually the Brahma. Brahma, when he was bewildered by the Brahma Vimohan Leela, that pastime when he stole the cowherd boys and the calves of Krishna after the killing of Aghasura. He was bewildered, and after he realized his mistake, when Krishna humbled his Brahma, when Brahma realized his mistake, Brahma was thinking, it is only because of my position as the creator, as the Pati of all the Prajapatis, the master of all the Prajapatis, that I have developed this pride. And therefore, to hell with my position, he prayed to Krishna that I want to participate in your pastime. And actually, there was another one more reason as well. When Bhumi Devi had gone initially to Brahma, and uh, Lord Brahma took all the demigods and Bhumi Devi to Kshirosagar, to Shirodakshai Vishnu. Shirodakshai Vishnu gave an order. He gave order that all of you demigods should appear in the family of Yadavas. So Brahma communicated this message to everyone, that all of you should actually appear in the family of Yadava. That's the order of the Lord. But Brahma thought this order was only for the demigods, not for himself. He is also Deva himself. The Lord told Brahma that all of you should appear in the family of Yadavas and other Vaishnavas to assist him in his mission. And Brahma exactly communicated the same message. But there was a one difference. When the Supreme Lord says, you all should appear in the family of Yadus, Vishnus and Andakas. And when Brahma says, you should all appear, he's repeating the message of Krishna. The only difference is Brahma is ruled out in that instruction. So therefore, Brahma did not take birth to assist the Lord in his pastimes. And actually, to humble him, the Lord actually bewildered him through this Brahma Mohan Leela. So the Brahma was actually very much hankering that when the Lord appears next in his incarnation, I want to take a very humble position and serve him in his pastime. And therefore, Brahma actually appeared as Haridasa Thakura in a very humble family. So Lord fulfilled his desire. Actually, in this Kali Yuga, the real dharma or the real principle of religion is to chant the holy name of Krishna. Whatever people got benefits in other yugas by doing different things, like in Kate Yadhyayato Vishnu, Tretayam Yujato Mahe, Dwapare Paricharyayam, Kalota Dhari Kirtana. Whatever people benefit they could derive in Satyuga by performing tapasya, by performing dhyan, Kate Yadhyayato Vishnu, by meditating on Lord Vishnu, what benefits were derived in Satyuga, what was attained in Treta by worshipping the Lord of all the sacrifices through yajnas, what was attained in Dwapar Yuga through paricharya, through deity worship. That same thing is attained in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna. And although all other processes, one requires to follow strict rules and regulations. For performing yajna, for performing tapasya in the forest, and for even performing deity worship, one has to follow a lot of rules and regulations. But chanting the holy name of the Lord, there is no consideration of any rules and regulations. So this is actually the benefit in Kali Yuga. That simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, we can actually get the supreme most benefit. And moreover, it's actually the mercy of the Supreme Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that in Kali Yuga we can attain the topmost position through simply chanting the holy name, which is so easy to practice. Chanting of the holy name or hearing the glory of the Supreme Lord is such a simple and easy process. It can be practiced in any place, anywhere. The soul can actually practice hearing the glory of Krishna through chanting the holy name, or even somebody else is chanting. Somebody gets to hear an opportunity to hear the holy name of Krishna. One can actually perfect the life. Like, for example, in Prahlad Maharaj, he was in the womb of his mother. In the womb of mother, how can somebody do tapasya? There's no way to do tapasya. Forget about performing yajna. How a person can perform, yajna in the womb of his mother or deity worship? But he simply heard the glories of the Lord. Even while in the womb, he simply heard the glories of the Lord. So this is the greatest advantage in Kali Yuga. Simply by hearing the glories of the Lord, one can attain the topmost perfection of love. So Haridas Thakur, he was never stationary in one place. He appeared in Bhutan and he would travel constantly to different places. So in Navadip, when people were extremely critical and blaspheming the Vaishnavas, we have discussed before also in one time, but people would, when they would see the Vaishnavas, they would make jokes on Vaishnavas. They would make statements like, the renunciant, the monks, the chaste ladies, and a sinful person or a person who is engaging in sense enjoyment throughout his life, all of them, they have to die. So what is the point in doing all this tapasya? Because Vaishnavas generally, they follow the rules and regulations. They live a very regulated life. But the atheistic people would generally make fun. Even if a woman is following chastity, a person is living a life of sannyasi, everybody has to die. So why to perform this, tapasya, so-called tapasya? Enjoy the life. In this way, they would actually make fun. In the midst of all kind of blasphemy and criticism, Haridas Thakur actually came to Navadip. Haridas Thakur had such an unparalleled reputation and exalted character. Not only Hindus, because Haridas Thakur was chanting the names of Krishna constantly, so Hindus were naturally respectful to him. They were worshipping Haridas Thakur, knowing him to be the exalted Vaishnava, saintly person. Even Muslims, they worshipped him. So his reputation and fame of his character spread all over. So the priest of the king of Bengal, Nawab Hussain Shah, his priest was known by the name Qazi. So this Qazi, he heard about the glories of Haridas Thakur. First of all, he heard that Haridas Thakur is born in a Muslim family, but he practices Hindu religion by chanting the names of Hindu god. And when he heard that, how much both Hindus and Muslims equally respected Haridas Thakur, Qazi became filled with enmity. He was so much envious of Srila Haridas Thakur because he was respected and honored by everyone. So he told the king that this person, you should call him and severely chastise and punish him. He was born in a Muslim family, but he behaved like a low-class Kafir Hindu. Haridas Thakur, he was arrested because the king generally would listen to the Qazi, but the king was also equally sinful. So he was, very much obliged to carry out the suggestion or the advice of this Qazi. So the soldiers, they went and they arrested Haridas Thakur. They arrested him and they brought him. They first put him in the prison, the jail, so that next day they can bring him in front of the king and the Qazi. So he was put into the jail. And when Haridas Thakur arrived in the prison, prisoners, because even though the prisoners were there in the prison, but they also knew the exalted character of Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was so famous because of his exalted devotion and wonderful character. So prisoners, they first of all were shocked that how is it that in such an exalted Vaishnava or great personality, saintly person has been brought to jail. But they knew that the king is Muslims, so he is naturally inimical towards Hindus. So they were not uh, very surprised, but they became very happy seeing Haridas Thakur because they never expected that in the prison house, where a person destined to suffer only would have the audience of such a great and exalted Vaishnava. So they became very happy and in great anticipation and great eagerness, they were looking at Haridas Thakur. So when Haridas Thakur saw so much devotion and eagerness in the eyes of all the prisoners, he was so satisfied and happy because he understood that this this happiness that they are experiencing is not just because of his personality, but because they are searching for Krishna, because they are seeing Haridas Thakur as a representative of Krishna, and because they have so much happiness and eagerness to receive an exalted personality like Haridas Thakur. So Haridas Thakur became very satisfied with their behavior and he blessed them. He said, whatever condition you are now, you should remain eternally in that condition. And when prisoners heard this, they became very morose. They thought, why Haridas Thakur is cursing us? And when Haridas Thakur saw dejection in them, he immediately explained, because he understood their mind. So immediately explained that when I said that you may remain in this condition for eternity, I don't mean that you should remain in the prison, in the prison house, being imprisoned for the rest of eternity. This prison you will be relieved soon. What I mean is the love for the Supreme Lord that you experience, the eagerness that you experience, you know, that should remain with you eternally. And I pray that soon, within few days, you will be relieved from this prison house. So all the prisoners are very happy and satisfied. And then the next day, Haridas Thakur was brought to the presence of Qazi, the king, Nawab. So when the Nawab saw Haridas, is such a demeanor of Haridas Thakur, such a saintly and exalted personality, Nawab was naturally melted. Because Nawab was not inimical like Qazi. He had bad association, but he was not inimical. So he started reasoning with Haridas Thakur that, my dear Haridas, you are so fortunate that you are born in a Muslim family. Why you give up your own practice of religion and you chant the names of these Hindu god? You are preaching also from the Hindu scriptures. Why you adopted this behavior of a kafir? And Qazi said, if he wants to be saved, tell him that he must stop preaching from Hindu scriptures and preach from Quran. He should stop chanting the names of Hindu god. So Nawab actually told Haridas that if you do not oblige with this instruction, then Qazi will make me punish you. So why you should give him a chance? Better you preach from your own Quran. And Haridas Thakur, when he heard these words of Nawab and Qazi, he recognized these words to be the creation of Krishna's illusory energy. So Haridas Thakur, in a very humble mood, knowing the king to be the representative of God, he actually spoke, said, my dear king, please consider this. If a Hindu gives up his practice and becomes a Muslim, will you punish such a person? Similarly, if I give up the Muslim practice and I'm practicing the Hindu religion, chanting the names of Hindu God, why there should be any objection to that? And moreover, I am unable to stop chanting the holy name of Krishna. Even if my body was cut into pieces, every piece would continue to utter the chant, the holy name of Krishna. So seeing the determination of Haridasa Thakur, Qazi became extremely outraged. He immediately, ordered the sentry, the soldiers, take this person and continue to beat him in the different marketplaces till the time he dies. So immediately the soldiers caught hold of Haridas and, dragged him away. They took Haridas Thakur to the marketplace, after marketplace. In the marketplace, they will bring him in the marketplace, in public place, and start beating with iron lashes. So those who were atheistic and sinful, they would make fun. But pious people, they were praying, oh my Lord, please protect this saintly person. So the soldiers, mercilessly, they continue to beat Haridas Thakur. They drag him to one marketplace and then beat him, drag him to another marketplace and beat him. And in this way, they dragged him to 22 different marketplaces. Throughout the day, they continued to drag him and beat him with the iron rods. And finally, after beating him in 22 marketplaces, the soldiers were completely tired. And Haridas Thakur, though he was being beaten, he never had any strain or feeling of pain on his face. In between, sometimes he would look at the soldiers in great compassion and praying to Krishna, my Lord, please forgive them. Please do not punish them. So soldiers, when they were completely tired after beating him in 22 marketplaces, they looked at Haridas and
Shankaranand Prabhu, we cannot hear you. Can everyone else hear?
Yes, Prabhuji, we cannot hear anything.
I think
I can't hear Prabhu. Yeah.
audio is not on. Shankaranand Prabhu, we cannot hear you.
Liverpool.
Yeah, we were not able to hear you.
I think that connection is lost. So I'll switch to this line that comes here. So, you know, yeah.
can you hear me now?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can.
So when Haridas Thakur heard, and the soldiers actually told that if the Qazi hears this, that we were beating you and we were unable to kill you after beating in 22 marketplaces, certainly he will kill all of us. He will give us death punishment. So Haridas Thakur, when he heard this, he said, if my living causes inconvenience or trouble to you, then I die. Just see. In saying this, Haridasa Thakur, he actually lay down on the ground, lifeless. So soldiers, they tried to pick him up, but his body was so heavy. They couldn't pick him up. But then, by his mystic power, Haridasa Thakur became very light. So they picked him up his body and brought him in the presence of Nawab. So the Nawab, when he saw that Haridasa Thakur was actually dead, he felt compassion. He said, cremate his body like a appropriate Muslim, bury his body. And Qazi, though he was apparently the priest or guru, who should be actually compassionate, at least after death, he should have been compassionate. He said, no, if this person is cremated as per Muslim rites, he will go to heaven. But because he, behaved like a low-class Hindu, he should be not cremated as per the Muslim rites. Just throw his body into Ganges. Soldiers, of course, Krishna ultimately then everyone's heart as Paramatma. Because if they have cremated his body, they would bury him under the ground. But by the order of Qazi, Haridasa Thakur was actually in Samadhi. He was not really dead, but he was in Samadhi without any symptoms of life. Because the expert yogis can do that. And Haridasa Thakur, being the pure devotee of the Lord, he had all the mystic siddhis. So they threw his body into Ganges. Haridasa Thakur floated in the river for some time and then swam and came back to the bank of river and entered into Navdeep city again. So when people heard, the Nawab especially heard about Haridasa Thakur, who was apparently dead and now he's again back to life, he understood that Haridasa Thakur is actually a greatly exalted, saintly person. He went to Haridasa Thakur and begged forgiveness. And Haridasa Thakur, being naturally compassionate, he forgave the king. Haridasa Thakur, he actually made his residence at the outskirts of city in a cave. He was living in a cave, and many people would come to visit Haridasa Thakur. So the people who would come to meet Haridasa Thakur, they would feel some burning sensation in the cave. So they went to a local Ayurvedic physician to know the reason that why they were feeling burning sensation when they went to meet Haridasa Thakur in the cave. So the physician actually told them that there is a very poisonous snake living in that cave of Haridasa Thakur. And because of his poisonous fumes, you all are feeling burning sensation on your skin. He explained that no one can tolerate or live with that snake. So Haridasa Thakur should not be living in that cave. So all the people, they got worried and concerned. They went to Haridasa Thakur and they explained him, my dear Haridas, we understand that there is a very deadly poisonous snake living in this cave. And we think you shouldn't be living in this place. And Haridasa Thakur was living in that cave for a long time. He had absolutely no problem. So he told, when he saw people were concerned about him, so he said, all right, just to pacify them, he said, if by tomorrow the snake doesn't leave this cave, then I will leave this place. And as soon as Haridasa Thakur spoke this sentence, immediately everybody saw a huge, big, deadly snake, poisonous snake, came from within the cave and started slithering away from the cave. He came out of the cave and slithered away and disappeared in the forest. So this actually indicates that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, he is there in everyone's heart as Paramatma. And he inspires every living entity as per the state of their consciousness. So because Haridas Thakur is a pure devotee of the Lord, even though he was living in the cave with a snake, he had no problem. But when he saw the consent by the others, when Haridas Thakur decided to leave the cave, Krishna insisted Haridas Thakur to stay in the cave. Similarly, in Govardhan, there is, it is actually a very famous instance that when Sanatana Goswami was living in Govardhan, the mosquitoes, tremendous amount of mosquitoes would actually trouble Sanatana Goswami. So Sanatana Goswami used to live very close to the temple of Lord Shiva, Mahadev. I think in Govardhan is, forgetting the name of the temple of Lord Shiva. I think Nandagram is Nandishwar. So anyway, Sanatana Goswami, he decided that he will leave because mosquitoes were not letting him even do his service of writing. He was writing the books. It was very difficult because of mosquitoes biting. So, because Haridas Thakur is known to be a very good friend of Lord Shiva. So when Lord Shiva understood the determination of Sanatana Goswami, he immediately called the demigod in charge of all the bugs and insects. He told them, banish all the mosquitoes from the this place, because Sanatana Goswami is very much inconvenienced. They say till this day, in that place where Sanatana Goswami used to stay, there are no mosquitoes. Mosquitoes don't come to that place. In other places in Govardhan, you may see in the evening time mosquitoes come. In that particular place, no mosquitoes come. So, because the Supreme Lord, he seated in everyone's heart as Paramatma, inspires the different living entities to be respectful even to Vaishnavas, even the animals and other living entities. Krishna inspires them accordingly. I remember Radha Swami Maharaj was sharing his realization that when he was living in Vrindavan in the early days, he heard from one of the Vrajavasis who told him that at that time there used to be many ferocious animals like tigers and lions would also be there in Barsana and Nandigram area. So, so they used to tell, and Maharaj shared actually sometime, that whenever you confront or whenever you come in front of an animal like a tiger or a lion, if you have slightest thought that you are better than them, they will definitely attack you. But if you at the heart are convinced, not just that you artificially think, but you are convinced that actually they are superior to me, I'm actually insignificant, they will definitely leave you and go away. Because Krishna is there in everyone's heart as Paramatma. He inspires them accordingly. I think there are a lot of passings, already 7 o'clock. I think we'll stop here and we'll continue from Snake Charmer's pastime next time. Yeah. So if anyone has any questions, you may ask.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam, this is Sirisha. I have couple of questions, Prabhuji. As you said, why these exalted souls born in these families? Because to deliver the 7 generations. Deliver the 7 generations means they all got liberation. I mean, liberation, what kind of liberation they'll all get? I want to really know, Prabhu.
That actually really depends from case to case. Like in the case of Hiranyakashipu, he got, impersonal liberation. And of course, again, there are a lot of difference as we are reading nowadays in Bhagavatamrita, and Parashar Muni's conversation with Maitreya Muni, that he was actually not liberated, but Lord Narasimhadev assured Prahlad Maharaj that his 7 generations are liberated. So depending on the consciousness, if the person has consciousness which is especially averse to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then such a person will attain impersonal liberation. But if a person has slightest inclination towards the personality of Godhead, then they will go back home, back to Godhead. They will attain the spiritual world, the spiritual planets actually, where they will have opportunity to live in the spiritual planets. But if somebody has, like the demons, generally have aversion to the Supreme Lord, so they generally attain the impersonal liberation. So similarly, in the 7 generations, or the generations of a Vaishnava's family, if somebody has aversion to the Lord, they will attain the impersonal liberation. But if there's somebody is having slightest inclination toward the personality of God, they will actually attain one of the 4 kinds of liberations: Sarukya, Samipya, Sashti, and Salokya.
But Prabhuji, I'm still understanding that I don't know, the 7 generations means they are not alive. I mean, what you're saying that what I understand is that at the time of their human form, how they reciprocate with Lord, then they will attain that liberation, right? Because 7 generations means we don't know until 3 generations we see our grandfathers. I mean, we don't know until 7 generations how they lead their lives. I mean, can you please explain?
And then it's not really important that we know. What most important is Krishna knows. It's not really important for us to know. But the whole idea is people generally have attachment to their family and family lineage. So because of that, the Lord actually considering the attachment generally a person may have, offers this benediction that 7 generations will be liberated. So as you said, we may not see more than 3 generations, right? We may see our father or grandfather or maybe great grandfather at the most. So we can't see more than 3 generations from the past and 3 generations in the future. We may see our son, grandson, at the most great grandson, right? So therefore, this 7 generation, 3 before and 3 after, 6 including one self. So 7 generations are liberated anyway. So that's why it says 7 generations. But the Lord actually considers that even if somebody is not a pure devotee, has some attachment to the family, here is a benediction. If you become devotee, your generations before and generations after, they all become liberated.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I have couple more. If nobody asks, I'll ask Prabhu. I'll wait.
I have a question that not related this class. Shirisha Mataji, you can go ahead after you are finishing. I will, because it's not related this class.
Sure, Mataji. Is anybody else devotees wanted to know about the class?
I think nobody has posted.
Sure, Prabhu. So, Prabhuji, my other question is Haridasa Thakura a Gruhastha at the time? What we learned today?
He was never Grahastha. He was always a sannyasi, renounced person.
So, how come he become a pure devotee, and who is his spiritual master? I mean, what becomes him a pure devotee? Be born in a Muslim family, Prabhu.
Well, Mataji, because he is the eternal associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's not that he has to become a pure devotee. He is a pure devotee and he comes to assist the Lord in his pastimes. So, but because he had the desire, Mama had the desire to actually take a very humble position, therefore he's born as Haridasa. But it's not the question of becoming pure devotee. He is pure devotee, he's a pure associate of the Lord.
I'm sorry,
And
Prabhu.
spiritual master, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he doesn't have any spiritual master. Lord Chaitanya has the only guru.
Sorry, Prabhuji, I didn't mean that he became a pure devotee. I'm just asking because he born and raised in a Muslim family. At what point it leads him the path? I'm just asking, but that's okay, Prabhu.
Yeah. There's not much detail, but only thing is known is that he was born in a Muslim family, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu raised him to the platform of Namacharya because of his constant chanting and preaching the glories of the holy name.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Randatana. This question about you, Prabhuji. Sorry, I should ask rather, but curiously I'm asking. On your dress, the white cloth are you wearing on your shoulder?
So I think we can stop here.
Haribol Prabhuji. Can you hear me?
Prabhuji, we are all hearing the question, Prabhuji. Somehow your internet connection is not.
Haribol Prabhuji, can you hear me?
Is it only I'm not able to hear or everybody not able to hear?
We
can hear Prabhuji.
Okay.
Prabhuji, your internet is breaking.
Let me.
We can hear your voice, Prabhuji.
You can hear the voice.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
You're on mute, Amma.
No, I'm not in mute.
Yes, Amma.
Haribol Prabhuji, can you hear me now? You are in mute, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, we cannot hear you.
Now, is it better?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Madhuri.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can you hear me now?
Yes, Madhuri, I can hear you.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Actually, this is related to you, Prabhuji. Like you are wearing the blue dress on the top of white. That is called kandwa, right? Kandwa, what we call.
It is called Uttari Madhuri, Chaddar.
So what is the significance of that wearing? Because I saw you so many times without wearing that. I never see you. You always wear this thing. I want to know about the importance of that thing, Prabhuji.
Well, this is actually a uniform or dress code for Vaishnava life. So generally, grahastas or even brahmacharis, they wear chaddar like this.
Okay, but
So there are a lot of advantages of it, especially in the winter time you can take this out and you can use it as a shawl, and especially in India, in summertime if you are going to some holy places like Vrindavan or Mayapur, you can use this as gamcha and take shower also in some holy kund or river. It's always handy, but this is just a uniform kind of.
okay, but in the home, like giving the classes also, you are wearing this thing, right? Like
Yeah, because this is, as I said, uniform. Prabhupada said, dress before you address. That was a Prabhupada slogan. So before you address people, you should dress properly.
I'm very inspiring this your uniform, Prabhuji. Most of the time I saw you in this code, this dress code. I never see you like without this. Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. It's a long time I have. Every time I should ask or not. I was shying also for this question. Today, somehow I asked.
This is what I learned in our ashram do. You never see, even Maharaj, Radhanand Maharaj, without a proper dress code. Prabhupada, if you see all the pictures of Prabhupada, he's so neat and cleanly dressed up. He's giving, especially address when he's giving Bhagavatam class or he's speaking, he's so properly dressed up. And Prabhupada actually made it a point. He told his followers, also his disciples, that whenever you are giving an address, you should dress up properly. This was one of the Prabhupada, there are few slogans. One of them was this: dress before you address. Similarly, that milk means hot. You never give cold milk to anyone to drink. And he said water means cold. Never ask hot water or cold water. You should always give cold water to drink. So some of the slogans like that. Utility is the principle. Preaching. Preaching is the essence. Books are the basis. These are some of the slogans Prabhupada made. And similarly, for dressing, he says, dress before you address. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I think we can stop here.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very good, Prabhuji.
Thank you for wonderful
Thank you,
class.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.